Hey y'all, it's June the 3rd, 2017. I want to holler at y'all about something. Y'all already know what went down yesterday as far as Donald Trump pulling out of that Paris Agreement. Donald Trump does pull out. He pulled out of that Paris Agreement. A lot of y'all are very concerned about it. A lot of us are very happy about it. A lot of y'all out there are very concerned about it. Right? You think that this might be disastrous for the environment. Donald Trump said it's bad for America. Not only that, many other people before Donald Trump said this is bad for America. You say, you know what? There would be no America if there's not the world. So the environment, we got to think about the environment. Don't we? Don't we have to think about the world? Saving the world right now before everybody's drowned. And this is terrible for the environment. A lot of people out there, this is just more proof for them that Donald Trump hates the environment. Alright, but the question that I want to ask today is, does this make sense? Does any of this make sense? I want to just examine it for a while. Here's the thing about it. Do you know the details? Do you know all the details of the Paris Treaty Agreement? No, you don't. Neither do I. No, we don't. Alright? We don't, because they write it in such literature that, you know, it takes only certain minds to be able to read it. All these details. Alright? It takes kind of like a lawyer mentality to be able to read through all that stuff and cohabitate it in your mind. Does any of it make sense? Here's the thing. Many people have been arguing that this sort of treaty would be not in the best interest of America. In fact, in the worst interest of America. Alright, but then the argument is, well, if we don't have a world to live on, won't be no America, so let's get our priorities straight. Thing is, we've already pointed this out before on this channel. And that is, you have to think about the economy. In the world that we live in, believe it or not, you have to think about the economy before you think about the environment. That's not to say you don't think about the environment. It's just to say that you need money in your pockets in order to better think about the environment. Alright, so anyways, not good for America. The thing is, we could look into all the details. We could start discussing the various details, such as China and India. Well, they don't have to do not a damn thing. The main polluters on Earth, well, they're exempt from all this for some reason. Alright, and this voluntary, so-called voluntary agreement, that is this Paris Climate Treaty, whatever it is. Alright, so certain details come to light. Certain details such as we're going to financially totally hold this thing up. Us as U.S. citizens, nobody else. Alright. Certain details might get you to think, you know what, this might seem to be a trap. Like, maybe this kind of looks like carbon taxes, right? We've been talking about carbon taxes for a long time. And that's what it seems like. In fact, some people, bold as Bill Nye himself, come out and say, you know what, it is carbon taxes, and we need it. We need to save the world. Alright, does this make any sense? That is the question that I'm posing to you. Alright, and then I have another question. Here's this. Does CO2, which you claim to be a poison, does CO2 correlate with the heat coming from the sun? Or does the sun's heat correlate with CO2? Now, I know that might have been a confusing question, but here's the thing. Does the sun create the CO2 on Earth? Or, I mean, I know it sounds a little bit ridiculous what I'm asking here, because here's the thing. A lot of people think that the CO2 is going to go up, and we're making it go up a lot. This is what a lot of people think, right? A lot of scientists, a lot of people who went to school for it. They think that the CO2 goes up, and then the Earth gets hotter. Might I suggest that when the Earth gets hotter, it is possible that the CO2 goes up. Alright, I know I'm not a scientist and I don't have a scientist lab coat on me. But is it possible, scientifically speaking, that one controls the other, not the other way around? Is that possible? Alright, that all being said, this supposed poison, this thing that needs to be taxed heavily in order to save the world, this supposed poison, is it not possible that if it's accumulated enough, the plants themselves who breathe in the carbon dioxide, they'll get actually bigger. They'll be more bigger. Is that possible? If there's more CO2 because they breathe in the CO2, is it possible, scientifically speaking, that the plants will get bigger? All right, and then just to wrap this up, all right, one last question. If the plants get bigger and they breathe out oxygen, is it possible? Is it scientifically plausible that they would produce more oxygen, which would be good for us? Alright, does any of this make sense? It seems like the polar ice caps aren't going nowhere. In fact, they're getting bigger. Does anything about this make sense? Does Al Gore make sense? You know what I'm saying? Does this treaty, which is voluntary, which puts all the financial burden on the United States of America, does that make sense? Is that going to save the environment? Right? Are we poisoning ourselves as Donald Trump trying to poison the world?
Anyways, it's a tribulation, you guys. June 3rd. 2017, tell you what, it's bad and it's gonna get worse. I'll holler at y'all.